Hey, welcome back to Shea Butter Chanel for another real lesson in life about some things that I've learned in my 46 years on this planet. I got to get comfortable because I had a procedure yesterday, and so I didn't feel like doing it in the living room. So anyway, it's been burning me up to do this topic. And my advice for this particular lesson is stop having dumb sex. Stop. Just stop. So I'm gonna just shoot straight because I've had a lot of dumb sex in my life. And my worldview on this is biblically. I don't have a worldview, so to speak. I have a biblical worldview on it. And no matter where you stand as a believer or a non-believer, as a woman especially, having sex outside of marriage is the dumbest thing you could ever do. It's so dumb. It's way too much risk involved for an even greater risk of no return. So let me just start out. Let me talk to my believers, my fire baptized, Jesus loving women like myself. Listen, it's dumb. It's so dumb for you, sis, to be talking about something you got to have the sex before marriage. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's dumb. First of all, it takes away from your witness as a believer. Let me tell you something. Every time you lay on your back with a man and he know that you supposed to be a Christian and stuff, your respect factor and you, as a representative of the kingdom, yes, we are always on mission. We are evangelizing with our lifestyle. I'm trying to tell you, he don't believe in the same Jesus. He ain't believing in the same Jesus. He looking at you like, yeah, right. She love the Lord, but she love me. I'm letting you know that right off the bat. I'm not a man, but I can imagine it don't add up. It don't add up. It don't add up. The world is trying to see some people who really do believe what they say they believe. Do you really follow the tenets of your faith? And I'm trying to tell you, the dumbest sex you could ever have as a woman, especially, is sex outside of the context of marriage as defined by the Holy Bible. There are reasons why that's in place. Now, I'm going to get real practical with you. Now, I'm going to take it, let's go broader for women who are not even believers. Let me tell you something. My goodness, I'm excited about this because how many times have I put myself at risk? On a more practical level, the fact that as a woman, because of the way we are anatomically built, when we take in a man, okay, the risk for disease is substantially higher for us. Even with condoms, all the juices and all of that, the risk for a sexually transmitted disease, is it really at a certain age? I'm 40. At a certain age, why are we risking literally our life for some penis? Okay, sit on that. And while you sitting on that, let me add something else to it. If you are of childbearing age, for us to risk having a child outside the context of marriage, meaning a man has not committed to you, and I don't want to hear no lip about marriage is not guaranteed, it doesn't last, etc. But you mean to tell me you want to start off in the negative, so to speak? You want to start off raising your child without having the benefits of a two-parent household? Is that wise? Is that wise? Yes, I believe in a nuclear family. I believe there are certain elements that only a man brings to the household, and there's certain elements that only a woman brings to a household. And anytime a woman starts out without that man, the biological dad in that household, it has been proven time and time again, even with your village and all of that. Why would you want to have to rely on everybody else outside of the man that created that child? Again, it's dumb. It's dumb on top of selfish, but it is dumb to start out that way. It's dumb. More dumb sex, more dumb sex. You are not factoring in other things. I think of is not factoring in the fact that sex is a very emotionally charged event. It is a very spiritually charged event. And sis, you can sit there all day and say, I know what time it is. We're just having fun. We're all grown-ups, etc. And I got two answers to that. One, you're lying and you're denying, okay? The more you have sex with somebody and you with that person over time, you eventually want more than that. You do. You just do. And if you have gotten to a point where you can just jump in and out of bed and not be attached to somebody, then something is wrong with you, because that is not natural. It is not natural to continue to give yourself to somebody and be emotionally and spiritually detached. That means there has been a breach in the dam, and spiritually and mentally, and you need to go get that handled. You need to heal. There is nothing normal about so-called casual sex. There's nothing casual about casual sex. It is a lie from the pit. Stop having all this dumb sex. Stop. Here's another thing that is such a detriment. Eventually, and this is where I realize time catches up with you. You, especially if you desire to have children, women have a real window to conceive, a very, very real window to conceive, okay? And from personal experience, you can look up and all of a sudden be in your 40s where your ability to conceive a child is severely diminished. It just is what it is. Now, people be having these miracle babies in their 40s. I don't want to anymore. I don't have the desire to have children anymore. But the fact that when I had a higher probability of becoming pregnant, I was having a lot of dumb sex. Dumb sex is having sex with men who were not available, right? Who were okay with me being a situationship. For me, I realized that in hindsight, I was something to do, right? It did not start off in any form or fashion of a committed relationship, right? And if you have a track record of that every 6 months to a year to 2 months, and you look up and during your prime years to be able to conceive, you're wasting time. That's called dumb sex. It's called not thinking strategic. And to add to that, here's not okay. The hierarchy of dumb sex: having sex outside of marriage, having unprotected sex. So we talked about. I briefly said having sex even with the condom and the exposure that still happens when all have y'all ever had sex and the condom came off? Oh yeah. I've lived. I know I'm not alone. But how about intentionally having unprotected sex? Most people are having unprotected sex. And I gotta pause, because having unprotected sex, listen, sis, you don't know what that penis is doing when it's not with you. The moment that penis walk up out of the place where y'all was together, he's no longer with you. Again, I don't want to hear no lip about, well, when your husband leaves the house, you can't control. I know that. But we're talking about a man that has made a covenant with you. There has been some kind of commitment in his mind. There is something to lose. If I step out and there's a domino effect because the woman gets pregnant or she calls my wife, he has made a commitment, and there's a lot to lose. There's so much at stake if he steps out. Not to say that people don't step out, but when you are having sex with an uncovenanted penis, that penis is, I feel, in my opinion, is more liable to keep on stepping and then put his penis over there and put it over there, and he'll come back to you. Penis over there. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Stop having dumb sex. Stop having dumb sex. Stop having dumb sex. And I want to touch not just on the physical part, but I do want to talk about the ties. Let me double back to when I was talking about, people call it the soul ties. Because people like to say, well, recently I had a conversation with somebody and I said, I've been abstinent for some years now. And she said, well, if you get into a relationship with a guy and you mean to tell me you're not going to test it out before you get married? And to that I answered, I said, well, what I do know is that me testing it out before marriage hasn't guaranteed any of the relationships I was in. People say that all the time. Don't you want to test it out? Let me ask you this. How many times have you tested it out? Are you married? Have you been married? Can you honestly say that sex keeps a man? I think most of us have not tried, or if you're a believer, trusted God to do it his way. So all our default is nasty. Let me try it out. When you get to 46, at this grand age, if you will, how much trying out do you, how many times you want to be somebody's test pilot, test dummy, sample? How much sampling do you want to give out? How much dignity, how much value do you have in that? Is not your body precious? Is it not? I don't know about y'all, but the idea of adding more bodies to the roster under the guise of testing it out before marriage disgusts me now. It really is nasty. And I hope, but I understand that this page is not necessarily for men, but if a man is listening, I hope that a brother at this grand age would value his body as well. Not be an animal, not live up to the low expectation that they have of men that say, hey, man got to have it. So y'all adding more bodies to that. Y'all okay with being nasty? It's just dumb. It's absolutely dumb. No, we cannot go back to virginity, but we can reset. I think the further removed you are from the last time you had premarital sex, if you are using your time wisely, if you're not cheating the process, if you're not dating people and doing everything that you can get away with, so to speak, instead of just straight penetration, if you are having a pure mindset because you are more interested in intimately connecting with them here, I think that your approach to sex or your idea about it would change. It has for me. It's not the tool that I use to connect with somebody primarily, right? It's not the tool that I use to claim somebody as my man. Isn't that fascinating that we use that to claim somebody that we're not in covenant with? Isn't that fascinating? I think it's interesting that that's what's so normal in our culture. We have these grand expectations with people just because we've had sex with them. We're doing things out of order. Out of order. I think that's where a lot of chaos happens. From my own personal experience, I can unequivocally say that if I had not had sex with my actual husband, I've been engaged 3 times, but the man I actually married, I think that I would have had a higher chance. We were cutting up in the church. We were cutting up having all the sex. And I really believe that my discernment for him being an abuser, I would have had an unction of some sort that could have prevented me from possibly marrying him or getting further into a relationship that that led to the altar. It ended up with me fighting for my life. I believe that. I believe that. But when you open yourself up and take that kind of that highest level of physical intimacy, it can blindside you because it's not done. It's you've misused and abused it. Stop having dumb sex. Stop having dumb sex. It blows my mind that sex is still something that highly drives people in my age group. When I hear women that call themselves the cougars and that they are open to having sex at their late age and they're very detached from it, to me it's sad. It is not sexual liberation when I hear women of my age or more talk like that. It's giving self-debase. It's giving that. Yeah. I don't think it's empowering to let a sexual rendezvous be taken lightly. And I just, not at this age. I think it's very dumb. And I think it's underrated. I think that's why perhaps the marriage rate, the divorce rate is so high, because people started out in premarital sex, and it kept them from deeply addressing and discussing very important points of view and the ways they saw the world, and making sure they had a real connection as deep friends, as intimate friends, as true partners. And I think that is why possibly the divorce rate is as high as it is, because people were more connected because of the false bond that the sex created for them. And so now you get married, and unaddressed stuff or things that you didn't discern prior to that, it's called you had dumb sex. You had dumb sex and you did dumb things. Yeah. I think I've said enough. Stop having dumb sex. It's wasting your time. It's keeping you from the marriage altar, sis. It's creating dumb marriages. It's helping to create disjointed, discombobulated families. It takes us further away from the natural order of things. And I think if the family unit is destroyed, if we're starting out wrong, that's why our neighborhoods, it catapults into broken families, which affects our neighborhoods, which affects our cities, which affects our states and our country. The change you want to see starts with you. I'm going to close out with a semi paraphrase of a topic of what a minister said at a sermon that I listened to many years ago. And he specifically talked about Black people and sex. And he said, one of the biggest ways that Black people keep themselves from progressing as a people, because we don't know how to keep our legs closed. And he said, because the men don't keep they pants zip and the women don't keep them legs closed. And he was coming from a very practical thing. He said, this outside of systemic racism and oppression and stuff, we don't take responsibility for how we treat sex. His main thing at that time, so this was many years ago, but I'll never forget it, because he did this at a mega church with a bunch of Black people in it, and he did not care, because we need to hear it, because what happens in the church. He said, unless you are prepared to spend at least $500,000 on a child from birth all the way to the age of 18, without government assistance. Keep your legs closed. So if he said that, and I believe this was at least 10 years ago, he said that 10 years ago, you could probably double it now. We got inflation, all kind of stuff. We in a light recession, they say. That's at least $1 million. Most of us can't afford that. Are you economically ready? So we want the revolution, and we want to change. We got hoteps talking about nation building, and everybody is having the sex and not building families. They want to shop black you to death, and all this kind of stuff. And the most economically sound thing that Black people can do is to be smart about their sex. And being smart about your sex is being family oriented and saying, my goal in life is to be family oriented. And I'm not going to have sex unless I'm family oriented. I know that's hard to swallow, because you got people who say they don't want to have babies and have family. And I'm at the point in my life where God has graced me to be abstinent for a very long time. And I do desire to have sex again, but I don't want to do it outside of his will. And so if I'm not married, I won't do it. And so people are more selfish in terms of they will do it because they don't want to wait, or they don't trust God to give them the grace to abstain. And I just feel like a lot of times it's people not living on purpose, right? Because there's a lot of energy that you have to exert around sex, the physical acts itself, but the pursuit of it. If you are dating just because you want to have a sexual partner, whether it's that same partner, or you like to have your variety, you sleeping with one chick today and another chick tomorrow, another man today, if that's your thing, there is a lot of time and effort that goes into that, a lot of mental stuff that goes into that. And so imagine if the energy that you had pursuing all this premarital sex, imagine the building that you can be doing, the purpose living that you could be doing. If you have that kind of time to give your sexual energy to someone that you are not married to, woo-hoo! Wow. Seems like to me that you're probably not living on purpose, because when you're living on purpose, listen, if anything keeps me from out of God's will, if it's anything that keeps me from the things that he has purposed for me to work on in this season, I don't do it. And so it makes me wonder, do you even know what you're here for? Because there ain't no way you could truly be living on purpose and in his will if you are expending sexual energy with somebody that you ain't got a commitment with. That's crazy. Again, this message is not specifically for Black people, but I'm a Black woman, and we got a lot of entertainment, a lot of music, a lot of visual stuff, a lot of these podcasts that have a lot of Black people with a lot of following and things like that. And it's all sexual undertones, right? And I think there is a debasement of the value of what sexy is supposed to be. And it's not necessarily bringing us together. And it's deplorable. So you can see the state of Black people by what we use for entertainment. There's nothing comical to me about any of these red pill podcasts or the popping the balloon. All of that signals to me is that people are very shallow and unpurposed. Yeah, I think I've made my point. Marinate on it. And then go into action with it. Stop having dumb sex. Don't do that. It's a delay. It's a distraction. And it's demonic. It's just dumb. Good night.